So I recreated this that I used for a friend's wedding, and this is how beautiful this looks. So this is what you are going to be learning in this video. So sit tight and make sure to watch this video till the end. But how do I look, guys? Hope this looks beautiful. So let me allow you watch this video, and don't forget to like. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today my name is Lady Peace. So in today's video, we are going to be learning how to make a queen and neckline and a Basque waistline. So these are the materials I'm going to be making use of. I have my zipper here. This is the one I'm going to be using for this. And then I have my lining. I'm using black lining for this, and it's about 1 yard. It's just 1 yard. And I also have this black material here. This is not crepe, but this, it doesn't stretch a lot and it's a little bit thick. So I don't know the name of this fabric, but this is what I want to use. So you can use crepe for this. So I also have this black lace here. I want to use this for the sleeve parts, like these areas here, like this. You can see how transparent this is. So I want to use this for the sleeve area. So this is what I'm going to be working on. So right now I also have this fabric here. This is damask fabric. So I'll be using this for the skirt. So you're going to see how we'll go about it. So I have this trimming here. I just want to like give it a little bit, like spice it up a little, guys. So I'll be using this trimming as well. So guys, these are all the materials you'll be needing, including head stay. So I don't have head stay here, but I'm sure going to use head stay. So right now, the first thing we are going to do is to first start drafting on our paper. So I have my pattern paper here and it's on fold, as you can see. So first thing I need to do is I'm going to first draw up a line at the top, like the upper part area here, which will serve as our starting line. You can also call that line the shoulder line. So I'm going to connect a straight line and I'll start taking all my vertical measurements from here. So guys, to get my vertical measurement, I'm going to bring my tape and place it on the starting line here. I'm going to mark my bust point. Shoulder to bust point for me, it's 11 inches. I'm going to mark 11 inches and I'm going to mark my under bust and as well as my waistline. Okay, so mark your shoulder to bust point and also mark shoulder to under bust and then mark shoulder to waistline. So to get the bust waistline, after connecting all this line, I'm going to come down from my waistline by 5.5 inches. Okay, so you can decide to come down by about 6 inches or maybe 6.5 inch, but whatever you are doing, make sure it doesn't get up to about 7 or 8 inches because it's going to be difficult for you to stitch on it. So when we get to that point, you understand better. So right now, I'm going to come down from my waistline. I will mark 5.5 inch here. So just in case you don't understand, let me place my tape here. As you can see, I have 5.5 inch just somewhere around here. So once I'm through, I'm also going to connect this to give me a straight line. After connecting this, the next thing to do is I'm going to call this the bust point, and here is my under bust, here is my waistline, and I'll call this the full length. Okay, so I'll come to the shoulder line here and call this the shoulder line. So right now we are through with this. The next thing to do is I'm going to place my tape from the shoulder line. I'm going to mark my shoulder divided by 2. So place your tape on the shoulder line and mark your shoulder divided by 2. Once you are through, you are also going to mark your neck depth. So I marked 3 inches here. And then From that point, I marked my shoulder divided by 2. I came down and I marked 1 inch for my shoulder slope. I'm going to connect it now to meet the 3 inches neck depth I marked, just like this. So I'm done with this. The next thing to do is I'm going to now take my armhole depth. To do that, you place your tape on this point here from that 1 inch shoulder slope area. I'm going to mark my armhole depth of 8 inches and I'll connect it into a straight line just like so. So once you are through connecting it this way, go ahead and call that the chest line. So this new line here becomes our chest line. So right now I'm done with that. The next thing to do is to connect from my shoulder slope down to my chest line using my straight ruler. I'm done connecting this. The next thing to do is to get my armhole. And to do that, I'm going to place my tape from this area here and measure what I have. And I'll fold my tape this way and divide it by 2. I'll make a point here. And from that point, I'm going to come in by ½ inch. I'll mark ½ inch inward. And once I'm through with that, on the chest line here, I'm going to mark my round bust divided by 4. So go ahead and mark your round bust divided by 4 on the chest line here. So right now I'm done. I'm going to now connect all those 3 points to give me my armhole. So first I'm using my straight ruler. I'll connect this to the upper part here and then I'll use my curved rule and then trace out the armhole. So once you are through with that, the next thing to do is to take our neck depth, okay? So I'm going to place my tape from this part here. So I'll place my tape this way and I'm going to mark neck depth of about 8 or 7 inches. So this depends on you. If you want it to show your cleavage, go ahead and then make it close to your chest line, or you can decide to use the chest line, but I don't want it to show my cleavage and all that, so I'm going to use about 7 inches for this. Okay, so I'm going to mark 7 inches here and I'll connect this to give me a straight line. After connecting this line, the next thing is to take out that. And to do that, I'm going to mark half of my nipple to nipple measurement plus ½ inch. So my nipple to nipple measurement is 8 inches and that divided by 2 is 4 inches. So I marked 4½ inch. I marked it on my neck depth. I marked it on the chest line, on the bust line. I will mark it on the waistline and I'll also mark this on the full length of my on the full length actually. So I'll mark it here and after this I'm going to connect it to give me a straight line. So guys, once you're done with this, the next thing to do is to start taking like drafting our bustier. So on the side going towards the center, like the center part here, I'm going to come to my under bust and mark ½ inch on this part. So mark ½ inch on the part going towards the center on your under bust. You're going to also mark this on the waistline and also mark this on the full length. So I'm going to mark it here and then I'll connect it into a straight line. Now on the side going towards the side, on the side going towards the side, I'm going to also mark 1 inch on that part. So if you watch closely, you see that my marker is kind of funny. So I'll be using the both. I have both red and black marker here. So I think I need to get another marker. So for the meantime, please guys, just manage what I'm using right now. So on this other side, going towards the side, I marked 1.5 inch on my under bust line, waistline, and then on the full length I'm going to mark 1 inch. Okay, so once I'm through, I'm also going to connect all these points. After connecting this point, the next thing is to come down from my bust point by 1 inch. I'm going to come down by 1 inch here, and I will use my curved ruler connect all these points to this point here. So guys, the next thing is to connect a dart on the neck depth, and to do that, I'm going to come towards the side here, this line. On the part going towards the center, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on this part, and on the part going towards the side, I'm going to mark 1 inch. And then from my bust point line, this line here, I'm going to go up by 1 inch. I'll come up by 1 inch. Then I'll use my ruler, connect those points to meet this 1 inch point here. Then once I'm done connecting it, I'm going to try and connect a curve from this part here to meet the darts on this other side. So to do that, I will use my curved ruler, try and smoothen this area here with a curve. So since this is a cut together shoulder dress, the darts will affect the armhole. So to do that, I need to replace the darts I have here on the armhole area. So I'm going to measure what I have in between this point here. This is just to prevent it from affecting our armhole. So I had 1.5 inch on this line here, this neck depth line. I'm going to go out by that 1.5 inch. I'm going to also still replace this here on this armhole area here. So still replacing this dart here. I'm also going to do same on this other side here. So this is we like trying to create another armhole, like getting our new armhole. So I'll use my curve and connect a curve. So guys, this dart here will also affect my neck width. So that means it will practically make it to be very small, very small. So I'm going to come in from this shoulder slope area here. I'll go in by 1.5, sorry. I'll go in by 1.5 and then connect it from this point to meet my new armhole. So I'll just try and see like how I can use this marker so that this can be a little bit bold for you to see it clearly. So please just manage what I have here available right now. I will try and get a new marker. So I'll connect and also use this marker to trace out my armhole. So guys, now to get my queenal neckline, I'm going to place my tape from my neck depth area here from the new armhole we drafted earlier. So I'm going to come in by about 2.5 inch. So if you don't want yours to be that big, you can decide to use 2 inches. So I'll just come in from this point by 2.5 inch, just like what I'm doing here. Just so I'll connect 2.5 inch here. And then the next thing to do is to now connect from this point now to meet this 2.5 inch point. Now, this totally depends on how you want it. If you want it to like have a little curve, go ahead and curve it down to that point, or you can also decide to use your straight ruler and connect a straight line just like mine. But this totally depends on what you want. If you want it to be that curvy, go ahead and curve it. If you want it to be straight, go ahead and use your straight ruler. So for me, I will be using my straight ruler for this. So I'll connect from this point here down to meet that 2.5 inches I marked here, just like this. So once I'm through with that, I will just use my marker to trace out everything. So right now, I'm going to also use my marker to trace out all this part so you know exactly where we are cutting out. So I'll just trace it out this way. So at this point, guys, this my marker. Oh, I'm going to get another marker. I'm so sorry about that. So I'm going to connect from this point here, connect it all the way to this other side, just like this. So the next thing to do is to get our sweetheart neckline. So you can decide to maintain the chest line, but I came down by 1 inch. So I'm going to connect this now to meet this 1 inch point. So you can decide to maintain your chest line, or you can decide to use 1/2 inch. So I came down from my neck depth. I came down by 1 inch, and I'll just connect from this point here down to meet this my 1 inch point, just like this. So once you're through with that, the next thing is just for you to start adding all your horizontal measurements. So remember, on the armhole area, I marked my round bust divided by 4, and I replaced the darts I have as well. So the next thing to do here is just to add my stitching allowance to this area here, and then I will come down to my waistline. On my waistline, I'm going to mark my round waist divided by 4. I'll mark it here, and I'm going to replace this dart I had about 2 inches. I'm going to replace it here, and then I'm going to add stitching allowance of 2 inches here. So I'll come to the chest line, okay? So I'm going to connect from this point now down to this point. So remember, I added 2 inches as well on the chest line for stitching allowance, and I did same thing for my waistline. So once you're through, go ahead and connect from the chest line area down to your waistline. So I'll connect it down to this point, just like this. So guys, to get the back's waistline, you're going to connect from that point down to meet your full length this way. So I'm going to connect it using my straight ruler from this point down to this point using my straight ruler. Just look at what I'm doing. So connect it this way to meet your center, the center part of your pattern paper this way. I just hope you understand. So I'll connect it down to this point here using this straight ruler. So basically, this is just how to get your back's waistline. So once I'm through with this, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So once you're through, you have something looking this way. So I have my center front and the side front. So this is just how to go about it. I'm done drafting this, so it's now time to draft the back pattern. So this is just how it looks. Let's go over to the back pattern. So guys, for the back pattern here, I've gone ahead to draw up a line here for my zipper allowance, this line here. And the measurements for this is just 1.5 inch. So this will serve as my zipper allowance here. So I'm going to measure this for you to see. So it's just 1.5 inch. I went in by 1.5 inch and connected a straight line down to the end of my paper. And this line here will serve as our shoulder line. So I'm going to place my tape from this point here and start taking my vertical measurement. So my shoulder to bust point, I'm going to mark it here, and then I'll mark shoulder to waistline. So because this is the back pattern, you don't need to mark your under bust. So once I'm through with this, I'll just connect all this line to a straight line. After connecting this, the next thing is to come to my shoulder line. On the zipper allowance line, please take note, that's where I'm taking all my measurements from. I mark my shoulder divided by 2, and I also mark 3 inches neck width, and from this point I'll come down by 1 inch for my neck depth, and I'll use my curved ruler and connect a curve to meet that 1 inch point. While I was connecting this, I make sure to connect it above, like I connected it outside my zipper allowance line, just like this. So I'm going to come to this point and come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'll use my straight ruler and connect it back to my neck width. So I'm going to now connect my, like take my armhole depth. I'll place my tape at the top of this my shoulder slope area and mark 8 inches. And just in case you don't know how to do this, go ahead and divide your round bust by 6 and add 1.5 to each. Whatever that gives you becomes your armhole depth, or you can call it the chest line. That actually becomes your chest line. So right now, I'll just connect that point down to my chest line. After connecting this, I'm going to call this the chest line, and I'm going to switch marker. I call this the chest line, bust line, and here is my waistline. The next thing to do is I'm going to come to my chest line here. Please take note, I'm placing my tape on the zipper allowance line. I will mark my round bust divided by 4 on this point, and I will just use my ruler and trace out my armhole just a little. I'll just trace out a little for the back armhole. So I'll use my marker pen and trace it out. Now to get my back opening, I'm going to place my tape and come down to about 6 inches, and that's because I don't want my back to be too exposed. So you can decide to go down by 7 or 8 inches. I'll just connect a straight line. I don't want my back to be too exposed, guys, okay? So this is just it. From this point, I'm going to mark half of my nipple to nipple measurements. I'll mark it here, mark it on the chest line. I'll mark it on my bust line, and then mark it on the waistline as well. After connecting this line, I'm going to come to this point here. I'll come down by 1 inch. So come down by 1 inch here. And on the waistline, I'm going to go out on both sides by half of an inch, and I'll connect them to meet this 1 inch point. After connecting this, I'm going to come to my chest line here. I will measure the little that I have here and replace it on the chest line just like this. And then I'll add my stitching allowance as well. So I went ahead to just connect my cuff to meet that little that I have. So I'll add my stitching allowance of 2 inches. I'm making use of 2 inches. I'll also connect a curve to meet that 2 inches point. So once I'm through with that, I'll come to my waistline. I'm going to mark my round waist divided by 4. I'll replace the dots I have and also add my stitching allowance of 2 inches. So I had 1 inch for the dots. I'm going to replace it here and then add my stitching allowance. So once I'm through, I'll use my ruler, connect from my chest line down to my waistline. So I'm also going to trace out this part here just so that you know where we're going to cut out. So I'm going to switch marker. I also use the marker to trace out this part. I'll trace it outside my zipper allowance line. Okay, so go ahead and trace it out. I'll also make this other side bold, just like so that you know where we are going to cut out. Okay, so once I'm through with this, I'll come to the top part here and also trace out this line outside my zipper allowance line. I'll just make this bold just like this. So this is just it. Just go ahead and trace it out this way. Connect it outside your zipper allowance line. So now to the part in which I'm going to be attaching my button, I'm going to come to the up part here. I'll come down by 1.5 inch. Come down by 1.5 inch this way. So because I already have a line here, I'm just going to make it bold down to that point so that you understand. I'll just connect it to meet this point here. Just go ahead, connect it down to that 1.5 inches we marked. So right now I'm going to come to come to this part here and I'll come in from the armhole. That's where I'm taking the measurements inward. I came in by 2.5 inch and I'm going to come to the part I connected my to this part here. I'll connect it down to this 2.5 inch point I came in by. So I'll just connect a curve. So if you can do this better, I think it will be more preferable because where I was standing was a little bit tight for me. That's why I didn't get this correctly, but I was able to figure this out. So you connect it, make sure you connect a curve this way. Just try and make it look a little bit curvy. I'll just connect it down to this point here. So this is it here. Once you're through with this, the next thing to do is I'm going to come to my waistline here. I'll go out by 1/2 inch. This is just to prevent my zipper from having any bulginess at the back. Go out by 1/2 inch and I'll connect from that point to this upper part here. So this was why we had to connect these lines outside the zipper allowance line, just like this. This will help your dress from having any bulginess at the back. So this part here will be cut off. So basically this is just how to go about this. The next thing to do is I'm going to cut this out. So guys, I'm done cutting this out. I'm also going to cut off this part. This is not needed. So this is how the back looks. I'm going to cut out two of these on my fabric. So this is just how the back looks. I'm going to bring the front pieces as well. So I have my back pattern here. This is me. I'm trying to let you know that this is the back pattern, and then I have my center front. Here is my center front actually, so I'll call this the center front, and here are my side fronts. So I have two pieces here, and you need to cut out two pieces on your fabric. So this here is the side front. So this is all about the drafting part. The next thing we are going to do now is to now cut out our skirt. So to do that, I have this my fabric here. I'm going to use this. I have 2 yards, so I'll be using this to cut out the skirt part. I'll just go ahead and open it up. Just go ahead and open it up, and I'll fold it into 4 places because I'm going to be cutting the back and the front pieces together. So I've gone ahead to fold it into 2 this way. I first folded this into 2. Can you see? So place your fabric this way, fold it into 2 this way. Just fold it and then go ahead and fold it again into 4. So by the time you fold it this way, you have both the back and the front pieces together. So if you don't know how to cut a pencil skirt, I already have a video on my channel on how to do that. Go ahead and check that video, and then you understand what I'm doing here. So while I was folding the second part, I made sure to leave about 1.5 inch at this other part here to serve as my zipper allowance. I didn't fold this completely, so I left about 1.5 inch for my zipper allowance. So this is just how the easiest way you can just cut out both front and back together. So guys, now I'm done folding this. The next thing to do is we are going to start drafting this. And remember, my fabric is folded into 4, and I left about 1.5 inch. I didn't fold this completely, okay? So I left about 1.5 inch for my zipper allowance. So the upper part of my dress is 18 inches, like my waistline is 18 inches. I'm going to place that 18 inches on this point here, leaving 1/2 inch at the top for our joining allowance. So I placed 18 inches here. So I'm going to come down to the full length of my dress. So the full length I'm working with is 58 inches. So I marked 59 inches because I'm going to be folding the ends. Okay, so that's where I marked that point. So once you're through with that, the next thing to do is to take our round waist divided by 4. So from the center part here, please note where I'm placing my tape. I'm going to mark my round waist divided by 4 here. And from that point, I'm going to add 1 inch for that, and also add 2 inches for my stitching allowance. So I added 1 inch for that, and from that point I also add 2 inch for stitching allowance. So once I'm through with that, I'll place my tape at the upper part here, and I will measure my waist to hip measurement. Okay, so waist to hip for me is 9 inches. I'm going to mark 9 inches. Note that this part here, I'm leaving 1/2 inch at this point because you need to join this with the upper part. So I left a 1/2 inch at the up here, and I marked my round hip divided by 4, and I connected it into a straight line. Sorry that this chalk is not visible, but I just hope you understand what I'm saying by me demonstrating or like saying this out for you. So still from the center point here, I'm going to mark my round hip divided by 4. So I'm not going to be adding that to the hip, and I'll add 2 inches stitching allowance. Make sure you don't add your dart on your hip line. So I'll just connect this now to the last point I have on my waistline. So once I'm through, I'm going to measure what I have here. I have 13 inches. I'm going to subtract 1 inch from 13 inches, which is 12 inches. And on the full length of my skirt, I'll mark that 12 inches point and connect it to meet my hip line. Now, if you don't know what I'm doing here, I have a video on my channel on how to draft a on how to cut a pencil skirt. Please refer back to that video because it's like this chalk is not visible. Refer back to that video so you know exactly what we are doing here. So I'm connecting this now from my hip line down to the full length of my dress. Sorry that this camera didn't capture that part, but I know you can see that white lines. That's where I connected it to. So once I'm through with this, I'll just use my scissors to cut this out. So guys, while I was cutting this out, I decided to still leave about 1 inch below the lines I made. So this is the center front. This is how it looks. By the time I open it up, this is how it looks. So when you fold this correctly, you have it looking like this. And then for the back pieces, I have 2 pieces here. Okay, so this is how the back looks here. So like I said, if you fold this correctly, you have something looking this way. So I'm going to now bring this back together like this. Can you see? I'll bring it back together this way. Make sure you put everything the same. Just make sure everything is okay. So I'll bring it back this way, just like this. I'll make sure to align this. This is something you need to take note of. You need to take note of this all the time. So I'll just align it and then bring back the center front to it. So bring the center front this way. I'm going to notch the part I'm going to like add my zip to. So I'll bring my scissors and then notch that part so that I will know exactly where my zipper is going to start from. So I'll just pick it up this way and notch this area here. So I've notched it just like this. I'm now going to bring back my back pattern this way. I'm trying to take my dart on the skirt part. So remember, this dress I'm about to create has a Basque waistline in front. So the front is not supposed to have like a dart. Okay, so I'm going to remove 1 inch now from the front pieces. So I added 1 inch for that because I wanted the back to have that at the back, like the back pieces. So I will make sure to remove 1 inch from the front pieces here and then cut it out because the front, there will be no need for that since we are making a Basque waistline in front. So I just hope you understand. I'll just mark out 1 inch. I'll connect it down to my hip this way. Connect from my hip here till that 1 inch point I marked. So I will use my scissors and cut off the 1 inch I added on the front pieces here. It's not needed. I don't need that on the front piece. I just hope you understand, but in case you don't understand, please let me know in the comment section. So this is just all about the cutting and drafting. In my next video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to sew this together. This video is already too long, and if I want to add all the videos to this, it's going to take us close to 2 hours. So I just decided to cut this here. So this is just how the front look. This is it. This is how everything came out. So I'll just go ahead and fold it back this way and then also bring my back pieces together just like this. Okay, so thank you for watching this video. If you watched this far and you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and hit on the subscribe button and please turn on notification bell so you are notified whenever I upload a new video. Of course, you already know what this channel is all about. So I'm done cutting this. I'm also going to bring my pieces for you guys to see. So this here is my basic long sleeve, and I cut this out on my lace fabric, just like I told you guys in the beginning of this video. Now, if you don't know how to cut a basic sleeve, I already have a video on my channel on how to do this. I'll try and link it in the description box here so that you go check it out. So I also went ahead to like place all my patterns on my fabric and then cut this out on my black fabric. Yeah, so in my next video we are going to be sewing this together. Thank you for watching this video. Hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye for now.